Welcome back to iLove. On today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit differently. We're going to do a little bit of a show and tell of Raspberry Pi builds that I've made over the last few years with the assistance of YouTube videos. I will leave links in the description below on where you can find these exact videos that I use to make mine. We will discuss and showcase the builds that I have created, the video game cartridges they are in, the controllers that I like to use with each build, and the unique things that I have done to make mine a little bit special. So let's take a look right now. Here we are at the workbench where we can take a closer look at some of these Pi builds. So let's take a peek, starting with handhelds. The GPi and the TinyPi Pro are going to be first up. Let's take a closer look at these. And to start off, we're going to take a quick look at the PiCade Go, and I'll explain why I didn't like this one and how come it didn't work out for me. Let's take a closer look now. Here we have all of the handhelds. First, we're going to take a little quick look at the PiCade Go. It looks nice, it's cheap. I think it was only $40 if I remember correctly. Nice little slide top box. It's got a nice padded case. Nice size, nice form factor. Looks kind of like a Game Boy Advanced. L&Rs, D-pad, start select, 4 face buttons, SD card slot. Now, the thing was that you're supposed to be able to put your own ROMs on this, in addition to the games that come on it. I could not figure it out. I mean, I looked around on the forums, I could not get it to work for me, so ultimately I said no. I am not using this. I am going to make my own, which is what ultimately sent me to the Retro Flag GPi and the TinyPi Pro. So let's take a look at the Retro Flag GPi Case. My main handheld. I use this baby all the time. Let's take a quick look at the box. Lovely, lovely box. I love the blueprint kind of style look. We can see here they have a nice layout on the back of everything that comes inside. Very nice to have that on your packaging. Here we have a nice felt case that comes with them. It's very nice for carrying it around in your pocket. I like to use it to wipe my screen off before my play sessions. Get all that pocket dust off. And here is the GPi Case. On the back you can see the cartridge slot which hosts the Raspberry Pi. It's a great handheld, fits right in your hand. It's just a little bit smaller than the original Game Boy itself. It's got a D-pad, 4 face buttons, start select, L&Rs on the back there, power button, brightness, headphones, volume. Take a closer look. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, well-designed case. Here we have the cartridge. Now I'm going to show you guys the batteries. Yes, it still takes AA batteries, which I don't mind because you can get really nice ion lithium AA batteries nowadays. I like to use Energizer rechargeable AA lithium batteries, 2300 milliamps. They last about 3 hours of gameplay. You can get these on Amazon. I like to have 2 packs around so that way there's always a set charging while I'm playing. You can get a pack of batteries with the charger you see here, and then get another set with it. Here's the cartridge. This is a cool idea that they did. It actually holds the Pi Zero W in it. I have a Sandisk Ultra 32GB micro SD to hold all my games. And they allow you to pop that little lid off and access that at any time. And that basically does it. I'm not going to do a full rip down because there's so many on the internet. I'm going to give you guys a great link to ETA Prime's video that shows building it, taking it apart, setting it up, and all that stuff. Next, let's take a good look at the TinyPi Pro, a fantastic Kickstarter project from PiCade. First, I want to point out how beautiful this box is he gave us. It is great molded plastic that houses perfectly cut foam. These were numbered kits, and there's so much love involved in these kits. It is very present, and they were beautiful, fun to build. He gave us tools, all the parts we needed besides the Pi itself and our memory card, the SD card. I will be uploading after this video a video of me building my TinyPi Pro 2 years ago, which I did record, and it was a test video I made to start my very YouTube channel you're watching right here. So that'll be the next video that I do, as you can see that. But let's take a quick look at the TinyPi Pro here. We can see a nice case. These are provided by Wermy. He sells these. I'll give you guys a link in the description below. The great case holds your Pi fantastically, nice and safe. Slides right out from a hole in the bottom. These are nice rubberized prints. Very nice. Thank you, Wermy, for those. And here it is, the TinyPi Pro. A beautiful device. There's our USB. You can see there's a couple lights on the side you can have there. Down on the bottom we got power, speaker, and a power light on the bottom to let you know if it's the battery is recharged or not. SD card, LNR, D-pad, 4 face buttons, start and select. Full color screen. I like to hold mine one-handed. If you got bigger hands, you can hold this baby one-handed and rock out all kinds of RPGs on it. It's a fantastic device. Those are both fantastic Pi kits. Easy to build. I will be posting a video shortly on how to build the TinyPi Pro. Next, let's take a look at the Pi that I like to use all the time. My main Pi, I like to call it. First of all, we're going to look at a case that I bought first, a cheaper one that didn't work out as well, and then of course, how I upgraded to the Retro Flag SuperPi. And this is amazing. And of course, the controller that I prefer to use with it, because it's just so easy and has the most access to all the games I enjoy. And a little side thing, an easy way to store it and keep it safe. Let's take a peek now. Here we're going to be discussing my main Pi, the one I use all the time to play all the games. I wanted to first show that I found this one. It's a very cheap case by Basetop, an SNES Pi Case. It's very, very cheaply constructed. It's got some holes and stuff in it. Just didn't work out that well for me. And I ultimately, I needed to upgrade. And luckily, right at this time, I could ditch this bad boy, that's right, and pick up one of Retro Flag's SuperPi cases, which is fantastic and goes perfectly with my 8-Bitto SN30 Pro wireless controller, which is of course my favorite controller to use with my main Pi. Once again, Retro Flag knocks it out of the park with the box. It's beautiful. This came with a wired controller that functions fantastically. Let's take a look. The SNES mini carrying case. You can find these on Amazon. And these are so good to store everything in. I don't know how many people get these for your Pis, but these things are only 20 bucks. You can get these on Amazon anytime you want. Holds everything. Let's take a quick look on the inside. Here we can see my Pi. Let's take a look on top though first. Here we can see my controller carrying. First we got, of course, the 8-Bitto SN30. Keep it in the bag just to keep it a little cleaner. Fantastic, fits right in there, because this is supposed to hold 2 controllers anyways for the Mini anyways. There's the Retro Flag wired controller, in case someone wants to play 2-player with me. Great controller, they function very well. Up here we got the cord holder. I put the HDMI cable up here. There's extra room in here, of course, to put extra stuff. I definitely don't use all the room. Down here, let me seal this. Nice Velcro. Seal it down here. It's another wire spot where we have the power cord. What I did down there is in the foam, I actually dented it in a little bit to hold the power cord up next to it. And this is, of course, the 8-Bitto power cord. So we have every cord we need to plug and play any game we want on my Pi right here. Like I said, my main Pi. Let me put this away. There we go. And here, right where the SNES Mini is supposed to go, is my Retro Flag SuperPi Case. take a quick look at this bad boy. It's beautiful. Works perfectly and looks exactly like a miniature SNES. We have HDMI, we got our power cord out the back, we got 2 ports for extra cords for USB if you want, controllers, you can get to your SD card right here on the side. Right here we can see that this is a quick access port to the Ethernet cable and the extra 2 ports that are not being used by the extension cables inside to put the controller ports in the front where they belong. Very, very good that they did this. This is one of the things that upset me about the other kit. The other kit, you had to have the stuff open on the side, the base top one. Then of course they have the eject button that works. Now this is great because in here you can put a Sandisk Cruiser Fit USB 2.0 low profile thumb drive. And then if you need to use it ever for transferring games, you can just use that. Let's take a closer look. You can see they got a nice vent in the bottom for the air fan that they have inside for ventilation. This with the 8-bit SN30 Pro, like I said, my favorite thing to play my games on when I'm just emulating. A great case. I love my SuperPi Case from Retroflag. Thank you guys so much for the design. And for you Sega fans, they have a MegaPi case as well that looks just like a Genesis or Mega Drive for you Europeans out there. And it is their newer one, so it has the most bells and whistles for us. Next, let's take a look at the PiCarts. These I built and are a lot of fun. We're going to take a look at the controllers for each one. This is the PiCart Zero Plus, I like to call it. I'm going to explain what I've done special, and we're going to take a quick look on the inside of these. We've also got the Super PiCart Plus, and the controller I like to use with this. I'm going to rip this baby open and show you the inside of this sucker too. See what makes that baby tick and what makes it special. And of course, the Mega PiCart X. Oh yeah, because I gotta give all the systems some love. So let's take a look inside these bad boys and see what makes them tick and a little special. Okay, first we're going to take a look at the PiCart Zero Plus, the NES cart with the Hyperkin Cadet NES USB controller. I of course have my cartridge here inside of a clear plastic cartridge protector. I like this because it keeps my whole Pi nice and clean. I can display it in that as well. You can see here some funky magnetic clips up on the top of the cartridge. I'll explain those in a minute. Let's open up this controller here. I like the Cadet. It has a nice form factor, a fit, a feel, like the NES controller. A little more ergonomic. Works good. I like it so that when I play my NES games on my PiCart, it gives me a almost realistic feel. There we go. Nice long controller cords on these bad boys. Oh, what's this? You can see I have a little magnetic clip on here. Yeah, see all the cords come out one side. So if you set this up, your power and HDMI and your controller plugs have to come out one side. Let's take a quick look at the labels I made here, based on a black box cartridge. But now we can see that spin this baby around, and that's the point of these magnetic clips. So see, when you plug it in, you can have your controller now. The wire is held out to the front, so the cartridge sits on your table nice and straight, so you can read it and it looks beautiful. Sometimes I see people make these, and they either cut open the front of the case and have a controller port somehow out the front, or, they just set it up the other way and have the wires kind of going back and forward. But, this works pretty good. These are nice magnetic clips. I'll give a link in the description below. Here we can see we got 3 USB ports for extra controllers, HDMI for video output, micro USB for power supply. Here we got nice rubber feet I found. Stops it from slipping off the table. Very nice. Now let's grab my small game bit here and open it up. Let's take a peek inside under the hood, as it were. Inside, we're going to see that this is powered by, of course, a Pi Zero W. So that way, if I need to, I can wirelessly hook games to it. And it's literally like $5 more. Pi Zero, you might as well have the W and have the wireless. So let's pop this baby open. Oh, wait. How does it open again? Top or bottom? Oh yeah, I think I got it now. There we go, you get that baby open. Ah, there. We have a 3D printed bezel in here. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, there's the Pi. All the stuff inside. We do have a little hot glue, sorry. This is one of my first kits, so I used a little hot glue. The hot glue holds some stuff in place, but it doesn't hurt anything. When you open the bezel here, the bezel is 2 parts, which makes it look very professional. A little hot glue in the backs of all these wires to make them very nice and tight, so when you plug cords into them, it's all good. We got the heatsink, the Sandisk Ultra 32GB micro SD. Let's take a closer look inside. Here we have the USB hub. It's a micro USB hub with power running almost everything. That's the power in the 3 USBs. I actually popped the cover off of it here to make it fit a little bit better, which is pretty cool. Mini HDMI to HDMI cable for the video output. Here you can see the fiber optic, which is to see the running light from the board. So that way you know when it's on. You can see here I use some nylon screws that hold the Pi to the bezel. This is a beautiful bezel. You can get these printed at Shapeways. It is called the Better Bezel by Haunt Freaks on Thingiverse. Let's seal this sucker back up. Three screws, of course, with the game bit, small game bit. There we go. Don't want to over tighten those screws, they're only going into plastic, remember. There we go, last one. Okay, there's the PiCart Zero Plus. Let's take a close look now at the SuperPi Cart Zero Plus and the Hyperkin Scout SNES USB controller. Once again, you can see here I got the clear plastic cartridge protector to keep it nice and clean. And I can also display it in that. You can see here on the front of the cartridge again, there's one of those magnetic clips. You now know why it's there. Once again, same reason, to let it sit better when you're running it. Let's open up the Scout controller here so I can show you guys how it works. These are great controllers, they're nice and cheap. You can find all these Hyperkin stuff on Amazon. Nice long controllers too if you get the corded ones. Once again, I have the magnetic clip attached to the cable. Nice controller. Let's see here. Okay. Once again, you got your plugs all coming out to one side. So we need to find a way to set it up right with our rubber feet. Set it down. Now we can see here with that magnetic clip there. And there isn't enough room in the Super Nintendo really to get an extra controller like that we did in the Nintendo cart. You see that again later in the Genesis one as well. But as you can see, we can plug in our one controller, and it clips right down to our nice little magnetic clip in the eject port hole there. That way we can set our cart up on the table, and it looks all flashy when we're playing our games. You can see your running light through the top. Play those games just like old school. Perfect, perfect. Let's put this controller aside here. Take a closer look at our cart here. Black cart, like it. On top you can see the running light again. That way you can tell when your Pi is on. Nice black cart. Here we can see the ports. We have our micro USB for power supply, HDMI for video output, and one USB port for the controller. Once again, due to space, that's why we don't have the extras. Rubber feet I found. These are great to stop it from slipping. Take a closer look at the label here again. Once again, I made it look a lot like, like the real ones. And this is a Super NES version of the label made for the last cart. So it still has that 4-box situation showing us the games that are on there. Let's pop this baby open. Once again, the SNES cart takes the small game bit. Once we pop it open with the 2 screws here, we will see inside the Raspberry Pi Zero W, which is the heart of the Super PiCart Zero Plus. Oh wait, I can't get this one open again. It's stuck. Oh, there we go. Ah, that's right, that damn HDMI cable. Pinches the top, that's right. There we go, we can set that aside now. You can see a nice thin copper heatsink, it's all that would fit, due to the space inside the cartridge. Here we can see some nylon screws I use. I actually mount these onto the Pi, and I glue them down so that way if I want, I can take it off. Here you can see that I trimmed all the plastic that holds the plugs snugly in there. That way I don't need the bezel that was made for the other one. It still gives the sealed impression that the other one had. Here we can see the micro USB cord for power. The micro USB 2.0 cable to USB for the controller, and the mini HDMI to HDMI for the video. And here is the fiber optic that I ran off of the running light right from the Pi again, so that way you can tell when it's on. Let's pinch this baby shut again. Oops, sorry, let's show you a quick close-up of the inside there, the guts. So you notice there's less hot glue in this one. The only real hot glue in this one is more or less to hold the cords in place and the fiber optic now. Not a pile of glue like in that last one. I'm learning on these advanced. So let's screw this one back together. 2 screws again. Once again, you want to be careful because they are just going into plastic. This one gave me trouble if you're wondering why I'm fiddling with it here. Snug those up and there we go. Another beautiful PiCart, the Super PiCart. Next we have the Mega PiCart Zero X and the Retrobit Genesis 6-button USB controller. Once again, we can see here a clear plastic cartridge protector. These ones were a little thinner, so I had to cut out the feet in the back you can see here. But once again, these work really good for storing them, keeping them clean, and displaying them. Come on, get out of there. See, that's the problem when you got the legs cut. It gets a little stuck, you gotta feed it out of there. There we go, get out. As you can see, there is no magnetic clip on this one, as the cartridge for the Genesis, you may remember, is quite small, and I have not come up with an exact place where I want to put it on there. Let's open up this Genesis controller, show you guys how I set it up, and how it sits on the table when I use it. Those rubber feet come in nice and handy to keep it in place when you're playing games. The Retrobit controller has a nice long controller cord. Need that. Can plug into the one port. Once again, there's only the one, because the cartridge is quite small to get more than that in there. But with the rubber feet and the cable set up as you can see, this one likes to stay in place just fine. I love the fact that we got L and R's, there's a mode button, we can use that as our hotkey. This controller was made for emulation. I love it. Works great. Okay, let me set this controller aside, so we can take a closer look at the Mega PiCart Zero X. Once again, we can see the running light on top there. You can see the rubber pads. Keeps it from slipping. We got our USB port for controller. Micro USB for power supply, and HDMI for video output again. Let's take a close look at the labels here. Once again, I made all the labels kind of look like the original labels, and once again, this one's based on the last ones with the 4 pictures, but now it looks more like a Genesis cartridge. And I don't know if you noticed, on the back of each one, I actually have the hotkeys on there in case you forget, so that way you always remember. We got 2 large game bit screws to pull out here to open this one up. Pull this bad boy open, and we can take a look at the Pi Zero W in here and the unique way that this one is actually set together, because you will see right away that there aren't as many cables in this one. There we go. Let's pop this baby open. Come on, sucker. Jeez. There we go. There we go. Oh, that's right. The fiber optic actually pinches through the top, so it kind of holds it together. Here we can see, of course, there are 2 adapters, one for the micro USB and one for the HDMI, and then you can see here I actually have the USB port for the controller running underneath the Pi that is stood up on nice pegs, nice nylon screws to hold it up nice and high so it stays away from everything. You can see here the plastic that I trimmed apart to make sure that it's nice and tight, snug. Fiber optic, so you can see when it's on. Get back together. There we go. Kind of hard to get that fiber optic into that lid when you're snapping it down, but there we go. There. Snug those up a little bit. Like I said, plastic, you don't want to strip them, because then you're screwed. Literally. There we go. Those were so much fun to build. If you guys would like to see any of those as special build videos, let me know in the comments below, because I will make a poll for which one we want to make as a video, and then we will raffle it off to one of you lucky viewers. Oh yeah, because I already have one, but I do love to build me some pies. Next, let's take a look at a special kit I made just for arcade games. I like to call this my PiCade Home Entertainment Center. It is an all-purpose setup for playing arcade games of all button forms and types. And I also have a special Neo Geo controller that you can still get on Amazon for under $40. Let's take a closer look at this build right now. Okay, here we have what I like to call my PiCade Home Entertainment Center and the Neo Geo X Arcade's USB stick, which I like to use for my second player so we both get a little bit of an arcade feel when playing together. See here, we got USB ports for multiple players. Can have up to 4 players if we want to on this Home Entertainment Center PiCade. So these controllers here are very nice. They work great, and they actually still sell them on Amazon right now, brand new, for $40. These were for a little mini project called the Neo Geo X that didn't go over too well, but the controllers are pretty much the same as the original ones. As you can see here, it's got a decent sized cable, and they look exactly like the Neo Geo controllers. It's a 4-gate arcade stick that plugs in USB. 4 buttons, start and select. They work pretty good. If I remember correctly, I do not think you can change the gate out on this one to an 8-way, but that's fine. Not too big of a deal. Here we got the PiCade again. We can plug it into the right side or the left side, doesn't matter. Fiddle around with this here a little bit, just for fun. Okay, got our USB of course. Can plug that right into the side here. Any of the ports will work. As long as you got it mapped up, now you got a second player for arcade games. If we got more, we could have up to 4. Play some Turtles or X-Men. Maybe some Alien vs. Predator. Whatever you want. Now you got 2, 3, or 4. Very cool. So when you make these Pi kits, it's always nice to, you know, have lots of options. Now let's take a closer look at the PiCade itself. Here it's put inside of an aluminum padded case that is actually sold at Harbor Freight. These things are like 10 or 15 bucks. They're super cheap and very cool. And then there's an 1/8 inch thick acrylic plexiglass sheet on the top of it that I use to make it so I can put that piece of paper underneath it there. And it makes the lid slightly thicker. Here we can see there's the handle for the case itself. Works great for carrying it around, which is awesome. Fantastic little kit. We got a rocker power switch. I actually don't have this functioning yet. I need to figure that out fully. We got the 2 R and L 2 buttons for on the side in case you need a 4th button for your top and bottom row. We also have a headphones jack and USB. I don't have my headphones jack functioning yet either. I need to get that to work too. HDMI for video output, micro USB for the power supply, an Ethernet port, and an air vent for cooling. On the left side we have 2 USB ports. We got 6 face buttons, the stick with an 8-way gate I put in, start and select, and a Pi button up on the top that lights up to take place of the running light, and of course I use that as my hotkey. Now let's pop this baby open. As you can see, you can just use the latches on the lid here to pop it open. And we'll see inside that we have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus running this big boy, with normal heat sinks on all of the spots. There's one underneath and 2 on the top there. First we have the 2 USB extension cables, our screw panel. This is running to the EasyGat PC arcade stick and button USB controller rig right here. Next you can see the car mount USB and 3.5mm headphone jack extension cable I have here. Then there is the screw panel micro USB extension cable for power, screw panel HDMI extension cable for the video, a screw panel Ethernet extension cable for Ethernet access, and the heart of it all here is this EasyGat simple board that turns all of your buttons into a generic USB controller for easy setup. It's very easy to put these into anything. Here you can see the stick. There's my Pi button that lights up for all the buttons. The 8-way gate, which I switched out. This was all very easy to drill. I just used a drill and a Dremel to size them up. Here we can see the bottom here. This is the sneaky little thing I did. I have a 1/4 inch panel in the bottom here with 3/4 inch square feet on it to stand up. So what's actually going on here is the Pi is mounted to that, and then that is set down inside so no screws have to go at the bottom. And then that doesn't need to be mounted because all the stuff in the sides is actually holding it in place. You can snap this baby shut. And it's a nice little unit. I love my arcade Pi. Awesome. That arcade Pi was a lot of fun to build. It took a while to build, and it's actually not done yet. I still need to figure out how to get the toggle power switch to function, and the headphones jack. If any of you guys knows how to get that stuff working, please comment down below, and we can get it working together to finally finish it off but it works for now, and I love playing my arcade games with a real stick and all the great buttons. Next, I want to share with you guys a few little items that I like to keep around while I'm setting up and building my pies that make everything a little bit easier. Here's a few things I'd like to take a close look at that I seem to always have around when working on my pie stuff. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're setting stuff up, getting things ready. Let me pull one of these bad boys out, and we'll talk about that in a second, so it's ready here. First, foldable silicone USB keyboard, which I like to keep in this Crown Royal velvet bag for dust prevention and protection. But this thing is just so great, so I can use it on the floor. Anywhere I got my pie, I can just plug this in if I gotta get into the setup menus, and it works just great. These things are like 10 bucks. Nice USB cord, nice and long. But then, oh, what if you gotta plug into a micro USB? Well, that's where these come in. This is a ultra micro USB 5-pin OTG adapter to regular USB. These things are so slick. They actually fit into the USB cable itself, and it's like a zero noticeable adapter. And that just plugs right into your micro USB. These are so awesome. Gotta have these around. Make sure you find them. You can get 5 packs for just a few dollars on Amazon. And they are just wonderful. Fantastic little device. Next, I like to have the Sandisk Cruiser Fit USB 2.0 low profile thumb drives around, because they're just so tiny. I can keep them with my Pi somehow, usually like I showed you with my SuperPi Case from Retro Flag. Just works great. Fantastic little 2.0 device. This, of course, is just a simple micro SD card to USB dongle, and of course you just need these around to set up your SD card for your Pi always. So yeah, those are just some nice little devices I like to always keep around. I will have some links in the description below for you guys to find these exact ones. Those are all cheap items, readily available on Amazon anytime, and they've always made me setting up my pies a lot easier. Well, I think that basically covers every single pie kit that I've ever built so far in the last few years. Wait a minute. Actually, I have a little surprise. Not ready, still in the works, kind of a design set, but let's share it now for fun. This is going to be called the Atari PiCart 2600, and I'm sure you've already guessed it. I'm going to find a way to stuff a pie inside of an Atari cart, so I can use a regular kind of Atari controller with it to play my favorite 2600 games. I've run into a few problems that I'm still trying to work out. Let's take a closer look at that right now. So here we can take a closer look at the Atari PiCart that I'm working on. This is still in the works. I'm still designing out how this is actually going to work. First of all, I was going to use a 5200 cart, but I realized right away it was way too thin, so this ain't going to work for anything I want to do. So of course I went to the 2600 carts. Have not decided if I'm going to use the Activision or Atari style just yet, as you can see here. Of course I do have to cannibalize carts. Luckily there are thousands upon thousands of extra combat and ET carts and things for us to destroy. Here we can see a generic USB Atari 2600 controller. I really like this because it has a removable stick. Got fiber optic cables for the running light, of course. We got rubber feet for the bottom of the cart. We got the plugs, micro USB to USB, micro USB for power, the mini HDMI to HDMI, controller cable, and of course the screw-in stick for the Atari 2600 controller. Which is awesome, but there's only one button on this controller. So we need more buttons, I think, and this is where I'm kind of working on some ideas here. We want to maybe put some buttons across it. What I've been thinking is across the top here. Similar to the Atari 2600 itself, how it had the panel switches on the front. And I've come up with these little tiny small tactile buttons that are all pre-wired. I'm just still trying to work out how this is going to function. The idea here is to put 4 or 5 of these little buttons across the top of the cart, and then in the label it'll kind of look like an Atari a little bit with wood grain on top, in addition to the, of course, PiCart label that I'm going to create. Now, the real trick here, of course, is I need to figure out how I can get those buttons to function with the controller together, so that it makes it the Pi think that I have more than one button for the controller, of course. So once I figure that out, we're going to make ourselves a video on that bad boy too. I love Raspberry Pis. They're so much fun to build, and there are so many possibilities. This is going to wrap up our episode, our showcase or show and tell of all kinds of fun projects that I built over the last few years. These projects, of course, would not have been possible if I would not have watched some really cool videos on YouTube. First of all, I'd like to mention ETA Prime. With his videos, I learned how to set up my Raspberry Pis. And of course, he has a great video on how to assemble and set up your GPi Case from Retro Flag. So go check him out. I'll leave you a link in the description for him down below. Next, I would like to give a shout out to Wermy. His video introduced me to the TinyPi, the TinyPi Pro, and of course PiOcket, and many other amazing handhelds. So please make sure you check out Wermy's videos. They are so much fun and of course unique. And he is also in touch with many other builders of Raspberry Pi handhelds. Also, and lastly, I would like to mention Rexx Reviews. His video on the NES PiCart showed me how to build my first PiCart and introduced me to a 3D print that you can get called the Better Bezel for your PiCart. I will leave links to both of these in the description below. These videos inspired me. I hope I can inspire you. Search YouTube, find some great videos on more things that you can do with PiCarts. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.